guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to this channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to discuss books and horror. And today we're here to talk about a new YA horror book called You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight.
It's coffee time!
This year we have indeed been blessed with many interesting and cool horror YA books. So today we're gonna talk about one of the newest releases that just came out this summer. It's the perfect summer horror book and we're gonna be talking about You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. And as always, my review is going to be spoiler free for you guys. But also you're not supposed to forget to drink your coffee today. Was that corny? Too much? What really drew me to this book was obviously the amazing title combined with the great cover that the book has. It looks like the perfect summer horror read. I think the authors of the books have also amazing covers, but it was not until this one that I really decided to pick up one of her books, and I think it's because this one was purely horror, and you guys know that is exactly my jam. It's also kind of a short book. It's under 300 pages. It is perfect for summer. You know, you have that atmosphere in a summer camp with a lake, and it also is a book that plays with horror tropes, especially in this case with the final girl trope. Let's face it, there is something about summer camps and horror that just works so well together. Charity Curtis has the perfect job for summer. She's going to play the final girl at Camp Mirror Lake. Guests pay money to go to this place and play a game. It's almost like a horror experience. They immerse themselves in a real horror movie, and the aim for them is just to survive the night. The game is based on a horror movie from the 80s that was shot in that very same camp. It is a slasher, and some of the cabins that are part of this camp are the original ones that were used in the movie. So it does appeal to a lot of people that instead of maybe going to an escape room, they want some more of a personal horror experience. But on the last weekend of the season, some of the staff members will mysteriously disappear, and Charity will soon notice that something is lurking, something is in the shadows, something that is putting everybody in danger, everybody that is in this camp. So she will now have to be the one to fight to survive the night, and will she be able to become a real final girl? Since this is a book that is a little bit shorter and it does offer a lot of different twists and turns to the story, I am going to keep this review quite short because we don't want to spoil it for anybody. So the story takes place on a summer camp, but it's not your typical summer camp with counselors and with kids that go there for the summer. This is a very different summer camp. We have a group of teenagers that every night are pretending to be in a horror movie, and they put up a show for the guests that come over and want to immerse themselves in a horror game experience, almost like an escape room. But in this case, the guests check in, and then during the night they have to survive what it's like a theatrical representation of a slasher horror movie. People can book this experience and go there, and then Charity and the other members of the staff are the ones that play the victims, the killer, control the lights, control the sound, to make sure that it is the perfect horror experience. Charity is the one responsible for organizing everything, making sure that everybody is taking care of, you know, doing their jobs correctly, making sure the guests are scared to death, making sure that they have a lot of fun. This is all an act, but at the end of the day, there has to be some fear in them, you know, to fulfill what they came here for. They came here for a horror immersive game experience. So basically, they leave the camp traumatized but happy. That's kind of what they're going for. In her personal life, our main character, Charity, has a lot of problems with you know, with her mom and her stepdad. So every summer she really looks forward to going to Camp Mirror Lake and play this character, become the final girl every night, and she really loves to be there. Also gives her some time away from home, which is not a good environment for her. However, this year her happiness is going to be disrupted because something or someone is lurking in the shadows and is going to target them one by one. Charity is a queer character, but that does not define her as a character. It is just who she is, and I love to see queerness explored in the book as something natural, as it should be, and something that doesn't fall in any of the typical tropes. The rest of the characters that you're gonna meet are the guests and the other staff members that help put together the game, and you will also get introduced to some of Charity's friends. This book is offering us horror lovers a different take on the trope of the final girl, because in this case what we have is Charity pretending to be the final girl that survives every night in this horror experience, and then we twist that and we actually turn her into a girl that is gonna have to fight to survive and use all her horror knowledge to actually become a real final girl if she wants to survive the night. This horror experience is actually based on The Curse of Mirror Lake, which is a movie that was done in the 80s, and it became a really popular slasher horror film. So the people that go to the experience, some of them are familiar with the movie and are really excited about the story. The camp offers a perfect experience for horror lovers, especially for people that were fans of the film or have seen it, because some of the cabins that are still in the camp are the original ones that were used to film the movie. Some of the guests that decide to go to the experience are dying, pardon my poor choice of words, to go and join this game and see if they would, in a horror movie, actually be able to survive the night. But Camp Mirror Lake is not only the place where a slasher movie was filmed, it's also a place that is believed to be haunted. They say that some people have disappeared in this camp before, and there's also rumors that a lot of people have drowned in the lake. So are the people actually going missing? Are the drownings actual accidents? Or is there something else going on in this camp? Is it all a marketing campaign? Or were people getting hurt for real? Kaylin Balin is a really good writer. I really like her writing style. I think for a lot of people that are looking for a short, summer-themed YA horror book, this is gonna be perfect, and a lot of people are gonna devour this in 1 or 2 days time. I do also believe this is a little bit on the older YA spectrum because it does get a little bit intense and dark. For me personally, and even though the story in the book was moving forward quite quickly, I did find myself reading the book a bit slower than I anticipated. Perhaps it just didn't catch me as much as I had hoped, and even though I was interested in the story, I was reading it fairly slowly. I think the book, if I think about it objectively, it is a fast-paced book, but for some reason for me, I needed to do it at a slower pacing, so it might depend on the type of reader that you are. There is a very well achieved atmosphere in the book. I feel like the horror worked really well in that sense. We have a summer camp setting, but the experience, this kind of horror game, takes place at night, which makes it extra creepy. And also we have the lake that it's supposed to be haunted. They are not allowed to swim in the lake because of all, you know, the rumors around it. The book offers many horror tropes and a lot of elements that are taken from slashers, so I think horror fans are gonna have a good time, especially in the first half of the book where there's a lot more mention of these things, you know, finding all of those horror elements and all those horror tropes, and they are also a little bit adding to the atmosphere. Apart from the final girl trope, which we know is one of the main elements of the story, we also have other horror tropes that I thought it was a lot of fun that they mentioned them. You know, there's a little bit of humor in the book as well. So we have, you know, the trope of, you know, black people always die first in a horror movie. We have the trope of, you know, the characters being really naive and making stupid decisions. And let's not forget that having sex will get you killed. So the characters that we have in the book are familiar with horror books, you know, horror movies, horror tropes, but the question is, will they be able to use this knowledge to survive the night? However, I would like to mention that I feel this book has been really pitched and pushed as a slasher, and I think if you go into it thinking this is a pure 100% slasher, you might be disappointed. Even though the book is set on a summer camp where, you know, a slasher horror movie was filmed, and this kind of horror experience that they are offering is based on a slasher movie, that is not particularly where the true horror of this book comes from. The second half of the book is where you are going to uncover all of the secrets about this place, the history about the camp, and a lot of things are gonna be revealed that are going to take us to the true horror of this book, and that is a complete different subgenre of horror that is not a slasher. So I'm not gonna tell you which one because that would ruin kind of like the surprises for the second half, but I just wanted to mention it because I feel like if you're going into the book thinking it's a pure slasher, you, like me, might be a little bit disappointed that it was not actually a pure 100% slasher from beginning to end. But that doesn't mean that I did not enjoy the second subgenre of horror that was introduced in the story. I just feel like they had a really interesting concept, and they should have went from it from minute one, and should not have split the book into two different subgenres of horror almost. It feels like in the second half, the book just decided to take a complete different route, which is nothing wrong about it, but I don't feel like they truly committed to it. Cinderella is Dead was published in 2020, and it was Colleen Barron's debut novel. It is a fantasy retelling that is bringing an interesting twist to the Cinderella story. This is one that I got from my Kindle and I still have not read, but I really want to. She also has This Poison Heart series, which is a retelling based on The Secret Garden, which is a book that I've always really loved, so I would also be really interested to check out this series. And then we also have Dear Henry, a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde remix, and as you can tell by the title, this is yet another retelling. So I feel like the author feels really comfortable taking classic stories and giving it a really interesting twist. And in You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight, even though it's not particularly a retelling, for the first half of the movie you can see that she is bringing almost all the tropes for slasher movies and retelling them in her own way. And then we have the second half, which is a complete different story, but I feel like she feels really comfortable taking well-established ideas and then just giving them her own spin. But I would be really interested to see where she's gonna go next. I would definitely be interested in getting more horror books by her. Summer camps are definitely one of my favorite summer horror locations. I think it just merges so well together. I've always really loved, of course, Friday the 13th and the franchise, and so any thriller or horror that takes place in a summer camp is something that I am for sure gonna be checking. Honestly, this book was on the shorter side because it's under 300 pages, but there is so much action, twists and turns, there is bloody moments, there is a lot packed in this book. So if you're looking for a short horror YA that you can take with you on holidays or you can enjoy as a summer read, I think this one is gonna be perfect. But just keep in mind that it's not truly 100% all the way through a slasher. Now the book is quite intense, it is dark, and there is a lot of violent, bloody moments. So I feel like it is for the older YA readers or for adults that are looking for a bit more intense YA horror. Alright you guys, so this was my spoiler-free review of You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Colleen Barron. Let me know down below if you have checked the book, if you are hoping to read it still this summer. Do you like this type of books? Let's talk about it in the comments down below. And also let me know if you read the other books by the author and you feel like I would enjoy them. Let's talk about it in the comments. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all as always in our next coffee time. Bye!